Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2M Net podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. And I am your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me is a full crew for this one because we have plenty to talk about. A little bit of Last of Us Part 2, or maybe a lot of it, who knows, and some major topics happening, as well as a big main topic that we're going to have, our best games of the year so far for 2020, as we're crossed the threshold of half of the year, even though this has been a year that quite unlike one we haven't seen in a really long time. So yeah, and thankfully I'm not here by myself. As always, here with me, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And also here, Jens Dietrich.
Hello, hello.
And Randy Isbelle as well.
Hello.
Well, guys, I don't think we need to go on with the what we normally have the intro about. I think we're all know full well what's going on, and the case is going crazy and everything else. So let's
still talking about it.
Yeah, let's get. Well, usually Mark and I have some kind of diatribe about it for like 5 or 10 minutes.
You do, not me.
Yeah. Well, we do sort of. So let's get to it because we got a lot to cover and I don't know how long we're gonna take on each one of these things. So, first of all, and this is kind of, I guess, if you really think about it, it came out like last week, the news for this. So it's not really been confirmed. It's one game, that carries this price tag, but, you know, with all the next gen stuff happening and, you know, we still don't even know what the prices of the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 are going to be, but we do know that there will be at least one game, if not more, that will now carry a $69.99 price tag. NBA 2K21 is officially the first game that will cost $10 more.
What, Sean, you don't have your $700 PlayStation 5 pre-order in PlayAsia?
No. But hey, if you do, Renz, tell me all about it.
You can afford it.
No.
So,
but I can't afford $70 for a game if it means that it's not gonna, tack on a whole bunch of paid DLC at launch. That is the prerequisite, I think, for that price being acceptable.
Okay.
It's NBA 2K, so no.
Okay, so let's. I think that's a separate question. First of all, I wanted to ask: do you feel like with the rising costs of video games now, and we constantly see movie tickets go up in price. They vary depending on which place you decide to go watch a movie at, as Mark will completely always attest to whenever we talk about a movie. And, we see this with, cable goes up, the digital streaming services that have cable-like, things go up. We saw PS View go up constantly when it was, Randy and I had PS View for a long time. That thing went up, felt like quite a bit. Yeah, very
but
quickly.
then it went away.
But it went away, but the other services also decided to. It seems like anytime they add a group of channels.
Well, they add, with those kind of things and cable companies and stuff, they add a couple channels to make it look like that's what it is, but it's always because a channel tries to gouge them or a company tries to gouge them. Viacom is notorious for that. I was like, how many times I had different cable companies or satellite dishes in my life that all of a sudden would just lose Viacom forever because they wanted to jack the prices up. So as much as PlayStation and all these went up, it's always because these cable companies continue to want to raise the price on everything, even though all their ratings are going down because no one's watching their shit. So it was sad because I like the PlayStation View. I like the whole setup of it, but
I love the split screen, the picture-in-pictures.
Yeah.
That was great for sports.
Mm-hmm.
When we had them. But, Well, we
Soon.
have some.
We have some, and more are coming at the end of the month, unless something crazy happens.
Let's see. I already lost my team for Major League Soccer, so they had to completely go away because they had too many COVID cases. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it's crazy that we've had the prices stay this long for what amounts to like almost 15 years. 2005 was when they went up to $59.99. So, and in that time we've seen the definition of what indie is has changed. So those prices have been going up and down, but they've steadily been increasing. It felt like you kind of knew an indie game was going to cost somewhere between $10 and $15. Now what you would say an indie game will cost you somewhere between 20 to 40, depending on how big the publisher or developer is, or how big the game is, or whatever. And AAA has remained at that $60 price point. Do you feel like, regardless of, let's take the logistics out of whether they're going to take out microtransactions, whether they're going to take out DLC, whether they're going to take out this, is it justified for you to pay $10 more for these Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, those kind of games? Randy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's totally justifiable. I'm surprised, like you said, that it's been this long. And people forget that Nintendo 64 games were more expensive than this right now.
Oh God,
NES, NES games were more expensive.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going back, and it's fine. And honestly, the way I look at it, it's not every game is going to be $70, and it kind of gives you more tiers to go along. I mean, not to look at it with the NBA 2K stuff, because they're going to have their card games and which are loot boxes, and that's a whole different story. All the sports games do it, and I still don't know why sports games don't take advantage of that and go back to the old NFL 2K days and make it $20, because you're going to make way more money if you get everyone in the door. But that's a whole different topic. But I honestly, I think $70 for next gen is totally fine. And then you'll see discounted prices at 30 and 40, and you'll still get your $10 games and all that. And on top of that, Xbox still has Game Pass, which you're going to get a lot of games on that. All you have to do is wait a little bit. And PlayStation Now is getting better, and we'll see what they do for the next gen stuff as well. But there's different options as well if you don't want to spend $70 right off the bat. It'll get discounted after a while. Sales will be more important. I think it's fine.
And I agree. I mean, I was used to in the 90s with PC games I was used to them costing 100 Deutschmarks or more, which even though in terms of the conversion rate to dollars is just over $50 or so, in terms of earning power, it was more like $100. So they're still going to be more affordable to me than games used to be when I was playing games in my youth. So it's not really a gigantic deal. Except, of course, if they're still going to have, hey, here's your $30 season pass on top of it, then it's starting to get ridiculous.
I just don't think that's going to go away. I think the production costs that they incur right now totally will tell them that $10 is worth it, because we're going to have to pay even more money to make a PS5 and a Series X game just to put it on those consoles. And that's why, and we still have to have all the other things to make money, because the service genre of game is not going to go away. In fact, if it increases further, it would not surprise me with this generation, because what we've seen is people are willing to either play the game for free and go with microtransactions, or they're willing to shell out for battle passes and season passes and all that kind of stuff, or pay for DLC after they already bought the game, and essentially they're paying $90, $100, $120, basically buying the game twice with all the different DLC packs that come out. People want more content for the game they bought, and that's what they do now. You could make the case that when games were coming out, when they first raised the prices, you knew you were getting a full game, aside from the Bethesda problems with some, Fallout, Skyrim, that you knew it was going to be buggy or whatever, but yeah.
Well, that was like years later, too. I mean, that was fine. I mean, I'm a little more jaded than like Randy or Jens. Like, I'll look at it as like a case-by-case basis. I assume, like, first party stuff will still be $60, like Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or
That doesn't sound shaded to me.
Spider-Man 4 or Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man is going to be 40. But I mean, like the third party stuff might be 70, but anyone who's going to pay $70 for NBA 2K21 is dumb.
Oh, sure.
That game will be $20 next year.
We're assuming,
right? But the whole point of playing those games then is because it ages, and once the season is over, you technically usually this year, being different, but most of the time you buy that game to play it while basketball season or football season is happening. You don't buy it to play in the off season.
Those games also have a nasty, at least most of them. I don't think those games have a nasty habit of like, hey, the next edition's out. Your edition now cannot go online, or you can't play other people, or the server is shut off. Like,
right?
Yeah, I mean, we all know that these sports games are a racket because they've got a captive audience, basically.
If they were like, hey, NBA 2K21 is going to be $70, there's not going to be a 2K22. There's just going to be a season roster update and like whatever 30 new players are going to be added to it as DLC.
Yeah, but that game wouldn't be worth it to me for $7. I mean, we're seeing it. We're going by the assumption that every game is going to be $70, and is it the value for money?
Right,
if the value for money is there, then it's fine. But I agree in the case of NBA 2K21, you probably shouldn't buy that. But that doesn't mean that if whatever The Witcher 4 comes out at $70, that'll be worth $70.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, but it's not necessarily about worth. Always is also about if people show that they're willing to pay that money, then people will pay it.
Sure.
If enough people start buying games, right? But I'm just saying, like, if it doesn't affect sales, that people don't vote with their wallet and say, you know what, I'm gonna wait until there's a sale, and they go out in mass and sell 1 million copies as quickly as they did when they paid $60, then guess what? People are gonna start making more games $70. It's just how it is.
Oh, I fully expect them all to be $70.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't think they'll do first party 70. At least not at first. They may get down. That may happen, but I think at least for the first year it'll still be 60 to entice people to buy the games or get the system out there.
One thing that actually is interesting because it's just the next gen versions are supposed to be $70, right?
Yeah.
So. If you have an Xbox, why don't you just buy the Xbox One version and then get the free update? Or are 2K saying that they're not doing that?
No, I think that might be a $10 purchase.
No, it depends on the public. Like if it's first party, it's not. But it depends.
Yeah,
on the
I don't know if everybody's bought into the free update thing.
So basically, 2K is secretly saying we're not buying in on that.
Right.
I don't know if it's confirmed, but I think they were the ones that were like, no, hold on a minute, guys. Like, EA's pretty on board. Like, whatever.
Listen, we need NBA to make $10 extra a copy, so maybe someday we can get a WWE game that is not buggy as hell.
That won't happen.
No, could you imagine if they charged $70 for WWE 2K, whatever?
Well, yeah, nobody would buy it. Yeah. Until the reviews came out and said, this one's not buggy, we promise.
Yeah.
They lied.
I couldn't trust them at all at this point.
With 2K, I'm just glad that I've decided I'm never buying a WWE game again until they put GM mode back into it. It saved me a lot of money.
Or until they make another kart racer.
I'd buy that.
Let's do it.
I mean, I don't think 70 is like out of line necessarily, but I'm not going to pay $70 for like, Britney's Dance Beat 2 on the PS5.
You wouldn't spend $7 on Britney's Dance. Somebody will.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, if anything, this more codifies my belief than getting that stupid the PS5 with a disc drive, so I can buy used games.
I do think we're gonna I think people are starting to get smarter with sales now, and especially the way, unless you're Nintendo, which has once again decided that they
have the same sales over and over.
Yeah, and now they're doing the same thing like Sony, where they did it in the European market at least, where you can't buy first party digital games in Europe. So
you can't buy them at all, or you can't buy them on sale.
You can't buy for Nintendo in Europe. you no longer can buy first-party games digitally.
Whoa.
Outside of the eShop, just like Sony.
Yeah, you can't like
did.
buy code.
Oh, outside of the. Okay, so it's like you can't go on Amazon and buy.
Right, you can't buy. Yeah,
wow.
can't go on Amazon or games like this. That's what I used to do for Mark. Is
right.
For like now Sony stuff, I had to buy him a
like gift card.
You had to buy a PSN gift card instead of
mm-hmm.
which isn't great for when you. It's much easier when you go file. I don't do this, but when I try to look into it, they're like, yeah, this is much easier when you go try to file for, like business things.
Oh, yeah, you want to write
actually have
taxes.
The name of the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not,
but you can keep your e-receipts from the stores though, right? You always get an email.
Right. I'm just saying.
But but it's like, that's different than saying $50 for a PS gift card versus, SnowRunner, which costs $50,
Right.
I can understand that this helps them control the prices. It means that Amazon
Mm-hmm.
can't decide. We've got too many of these cards for this particular Nintendo game. Let's, mark it down to $40.
Well, Amazon doesn't care, but also, like, I'd rather have more, in that case, I'd rather have more flexibility in pricing than less, because, like, Nintendo prices are always stagnant.
I know you would. I would too, but I can understand why Nintendo is doing that.
Yeah, it's the same thing why Sony did. They didn't want you to be able to go to another store. And if Sony puts the game on sale digitally for $5 less, they lose a chunk of that because, you're not buying it on PSN. So, that is going to be interesting how this all shakes out, what this means. Does anybody think that there will be people that use this as a way to, okay, we are going to promise less microtransactions, less this or that if we're raising the price?
Not a chance.
If anything, that stuff will get more gross.
All right, just thought I'd ask because there are.
It's a nice dream, but that's like saying they'd be like telling EA, "Hey, I just want to buy like Plants vs Zombies 2 for $20. Get rid of these like microtransactions." They're like, no.
Well, aren't they technically taking a lot of microtransactions out of their games now because of the Battlefront 2 thing?
Not really.
Well, not the sports games, but.
I don't know. I could see them doing some things for consumer goodwill, at least early on. We're already willing to pay $70 for a game if it comes with some digital goodies alongside it. If it's like, the pre-order deluxe edition that has a digital soundtrack and a couple of items that you can only get in that edition, it's probably not worth the extra $10, but...
They did that with Fallen Order. Like the special edition of Fallen Order was like $10 more and included like the gold lightsaber or something like that. And then like a month later... They've made it free for everyone, and it's like that's nice, but doesn't that kind of piss off the people who got the special edition? Like,
I guess, but you've got their money already,
right? Yeah, they don't care at that point. Plus, most people don't even realize that happened.
Yeah,
like unless you pay attention to news all the time, then
you'd have to be on NeoGAF, getting angry in a thread about it,
which I was. No,
yeah, this is going to be something that evolves throughout. This generation that's coming, so
at least with like this generation, they got rid of the stupid online passes.
Oh God, remember that?
Oh, good
Lord! You had
Lord.
to pay to even think about playing a game online for a while because they needed extra money.
I think they realized like that's a fine method, but when the server's only on for like a year, people might get pissed.
Oh yeah, and then EA was the worst one about like. Oh, this game, all of a sudden, its online server's down. Its online server's down. And it wasn't even sports games. It was like, I think one game that came out that year. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So, Mark, do you literally expect a Jedi Fallen Order Deluxe Edition for $80 with a purple lightsaber or something, and that's your extra 10? Sure. Or do you think, okay, all right, you're very cynical there.
God, I hope not. I hope we're not getting to that point.
Yeah, I feel like they might not do that $10 markup, at least for a while people get acclimated to the pricing.
Oh, I can almost guarantee that every one of the big games they've announced so far, like Spider-Man and Horizon, maybe even Halo.
Oh, sure, Spider-Man will have a season pass because there'll be, substantial extra content.
They'll have 3 or 4 special editions and then a season pass as well.
I don't know if Spider-Man's going to be $60, though.
No, Spider-Man is $40 because it's a smaller game, or it's not quite as advanced as like the newest one, or it's not like a completely next gen game. But
The DLC for the previous Spider-Man game was totally worth it.
Oh yeah, I agree. I played a lot of that. That was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll continue to monitor that. I'm sure we'll eventually get prices for some of these, especially the launch games at some point, and we'll get to judge if there are any other publishers that decide to take that bold step or not. But speaking of one publisher, Microsoft has finally revealed their game showcase is happening July 23rd. And so we know when that is happening, but perhaps something a little bit more interesting that Randy actually was, when we talked about this on another show, is the one that kind of brought it up, that what if Microsoft was one of the other American-based studios that was wanting to inquire about getting WB Interactive. And now there are more reports coming that perhaps Microsoft might really take a chance at this. And how would you feel about it? Microsoft adding a Rocksteady, another Realm, TT Games to their bulk of studios, and then all the other stuff that comes with it. Like, just that would really bolster their outlook.
Yeah, be feathering
right?
their cap for exclusives for sure.
Do you think they would really put like a Mortal Kombat and take it away from Sony, or would they do the Minecraft thing and just?
That'd be silly not to, right?
I mean, they have
Street Fighter 5 has still never been on Xbox.
Oh yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah, I mean it's the same basic principle. I think Microsoft would be more. I don't think they'd be willing, but I think they might entertain the notion a little more about if they own Mortal Kombat by putting it on PS5, because they didn't do like Cuphead or Ori with the Switch. But I don't think they see that as competition necessarily.
Right? No, it's
I think. I mean, if they would get WB, some games they would obviously keep as exclusives, but some they would put on other systems. I mean, that is starting to get a little lax, anyways, with a bunch of the PlayStation games now showing up on Steam, and next year's MLB The Show, which is a PlayStation exclusive, going to be on Xbox and all of those systems. So I think it's going to be a little bit more laxed. But as far as like I think with multiplayer games, I think we'll see it a lot more laxed. But when it comes to like Batman and stuff, I think would be their answer to Spider-Man if they end up getting it. So I think it would be a mix. I mean, because again, if you're getting the entire WB Interactive, like Sean said, you get a lot.
I mean, I don't see what you get though necessarily. Do you get Mortal Kombat, but everything else is like licensed?
Well, yeah, they would have to get a license with DC.
You brought up Batman, but it's like, hey, they're not going to get Batman necessarily. I mean,
so you have to work out a license.
Yeah, they would probably get the EA deal for Rocksteady, so they could keep making Batman, or they can make a.
Well,
DC
I mean, the rumor with Rocksteady is that they're making a stupid Suicide Squad game, and it's like great. Right. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, and they'd have to work out the license for that Harry Potter RPG. Mm-hmm. If that, well, that may come out depending on how quick they do this deal. But
yeah,
would they keep the Lego games? I mean, you could still get them on PC and stuff. Would they keep the Lego games exclusive? Things like that.
I think Lego in particular would be multi-platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like Minecraft. I mean, that's your ticket to kids.
Right.
Well, excuse me, it's not your ticket to kids. It's a ticket to grandparents wanting to buy their kids video games.
Yeah.
Yep, because it's something easy to just be like, it's the Legos. He likes this. Mm-hmm. Let's get in that. I think this would be cool for Microsoft to have.
Well, it would give more credence to like the old Sony buying Capcom rumor.
Yeah, that. I think also it would. I wonder if they would branch Rocksteady out so they could make other DC titles and not just one every, 3 or 4 years or whatever, so you can have a Batman game, a Suicide Squad game.
They'll make another Urban Chaos game.
Yeah.
My problem with Rocksteady is they're a fairly celebrated developer for the Batman games, but they've only made those Batman games, and I'll be charitable and say at least 2 of them weren't great.
Yeah, and then the one that WB Montreal made.
Well, I don't even count. Yeah. I don't even count that one. I mean, Batman VR wasn't good, let's say, and you can decide on your own if City or Night is a better game. I think Night is for me, but I didn't like City that much.
I like City a lot. I mean, Asylum is still better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Is like their best game is still pretty much their first game.
Hey, sometimes
and it's been 5 years since they've announced another game. I'm not counting VR. That
I wonder if they like really did decide at one point. Oh, they were making this property, this property, and then finally decided on Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I get I mean, the rumors have been they were working on like a Green Arrow game for a while, and then like a Superman game, and now this one. It's like, all right, show me something official, and I may believe you.
Yeah, I think it's more of interest of like Microsoft, I guess, being able to put money into it and care about it and what they would do with it. Like, we know what most of these studios make. Yeah, I wonder what that would really mean. Are we gonna get more Mortal Kombat like side games, like what happened in the past, where we went, way off the beaten path sometimes?
Mythologies and
yeah.
Always one of those. The Liu Kang game was pretty good. Shaolin Monks.
Yeah, is that the like?
That's the one. That's the one good one.
The Gauntlet game, or the co-op game that was.
Yeah, it's like you play as Liu Kang or Kung Lao. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I like that.
There were like rumors they're going to make an HD version of that, but nothing ever happened, which is unfortunate.
Sometimes you just don't get the good ones. But moving along here, we'll do a when it gets closer to July 23rd. We'll do like what we think Microsoft might show. I don't think we need to do that now. There's probably going to be more stuff that comes out by then. Fallout is also getting a TV series, which that kind of just like dropped out of nowhere. And Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy are developing the Fallout show at Amazon. So, Amazon paid a bunch of money to have the Lord of the Rings TV show. Now they're doing a Fallout show. Bethesda is involved in certain ways, along with Todd Howard. Well, guys, what do you think? Could this be good?
I'm for it, but I think it'll be a little, I would say, grimdark, because Fallout does have kind of a sense of humor about certain things, and I like Westworld, but it's not the most humorous show in the world.
Yeah, it all depends on what kind of tone they're going for it. Because if it's like a Fallout 2 kind of tone, that I would like. But if it's more, like Fallout 4 was already way too serious for the series.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Fallout 4 had like no sense of humor. It was really weird.
It's a series that was incredibly close to my heart up through Fallout 3, and then I fell off it pretty hard. So, I mean, New Vegas, I know, had good writing. But it's hard for me to care about Fallout nowadays. There's been too many bad Fallout games in a row.
My bigger question is, how do you really do the show? Like, you just kind of do Fallout 1? Or, like, what would be the story?
I mean, you just do something set in the universe. I mean, it's just you just do a post-apocalypse. It's popular. That's the thing is, when you take
Mad Max?
I mean, not like, like Fallout, but, it's not like there aren't plenty of post-apocalyptic shows.
Oh, yeah.
Or already there's plenty of that stuff in sci-fi. So, it's not as special, I think. And it's kind of like whenever they talk about making a Last of Us movie. It's like everything that makes Last of Us impressive as a video game is old hat in movie form.
I've already seen The Road. It's like...
Yeah, or like The Girl with All the Gifts, all those kinds of movies. There's so many of them that it wouldn't do anything interesting as a movie.
That's why I think, like, if you make a Fallout show, you need to have that sense of humor. Like, that'll help make it stand out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be quite as goofy as, like, some of the games. Like, you don't need, like, the Power Fist or...
There were some funny things in Westworld, kind of darkly funny things.
Oh, yeah.
But it was few and far between.
Yeah. I mean, I like Westworld, so I will give it a shot. I think for me, it also depends on cast, like who they get.
I liked it once. Huh? It was good for a season.
Season 3, right?
I actually have still halfway in season 3 and can't get myself to keep watching it. So I don't know.
I don't have any faith in Jonathan Nolan either. So it's
Randy,
not the creative.
What do you think about a Fallout?
I'm glad video games are getting more of a chance on TV series because the movies haven't gone in that direction.
What are you talking about, man? They're making Monster Hunter into a movie.
Right.
Hey, Witcher
worked
out.
But I'm still more I still need to watch The Witcher on Netflix.
I would say like
it's
Witcher
on my
is a standout one.
It's on my need to watch list, but I just haven't watched it yet. But I'm still more excited for the Last of Us show, of course.
Yeah, I mean,
wait, there's a Last of Us show?
Yeah,
the HBO's doing it.
HBO's doing it. The director of Chernobyl.
Okay, sure.
My
still
problem
think
with that it would be like it's such a. I mean, Last of Us specifically is such a limited show. Like if it's just going to be like a 6-hour movie, like okay, I guess, but Fallout's so much more of an expansive show or expansive universe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Fallout you can get multiple seasons of, and Last of Us most likely will be like a Chernobyl, where it's a 1 season, 7 episodes thing, which I'm totally for. So.
That's the thing in Fallout's favor is what a expansive world it is and how much story you could really tell. I mean, you could really go to kind of every corner of the world in Fallout, and you'd have interesting potential.
As long as you can get Emily Watson to play Ellie in The Last of Us show, I'll be happy.
Hey, Emily Watson. I mean, I like Emily Watson, but...
She was in Chernobyl.
Oh, okay. She needs to be in that when we make the Deadly Premonition TV series. That's when you cast Emily Watson.
That'll happen.
You never know at this point. So
you need what's her name from Hard Candy for Ellie. Come on, Beyond Two Souls.
Ellen Page.
Thank you.
Page. That's who I think. That's who she looks like, right?
Well, that was the
exactly.
They almost got in like a lawsuit about it.
Because she looked a lot like her. Yeah.
I think she's going to sue like a Last of Us developer or something like that.
Well,
also she's too old now.
Yeah, you do later. I mean, she's older now.
She accused the Last of Us developers of ripping off her likeness. So I'm sure there's about a good blood between those two.
Yeah, that did happen. So, I don't have a. I think it's cool that video games are getting TV shows. I think they work better in that realm, actually. You have more way to tell the story, and you can get more out of the games that way, too. The movies it's not long enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Really do them justice.
Video games are long-form storytelling, and they're much closer to TV that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other than like a fighting game, like Mortal Kombat, things like that.
Favorite movie.
But things that Last of Us needs to have a series. I think
I mean, that movie that the Girls of the Gifts movie, that is Last of Us, really.
Yeah, Defenders of the Realm has proven how well Mortal Kombat works in TV form, and Mortal Kombat Conquest.
I've seen that one.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I was just saying that happened to be a good movie.
Well, look at Castlevania, like the anime or the cartoon shows like that. If they made a Castlevania movie, it'd suck ass.
Yeah, but the Castlevania TV show, everybody talks about it like it's the best video game adaptation. But the whole thing with it is that they basically just took the character names and nothing else.
Oh yeah,
they didn't really adapt the games at all.
I just want to sidetrack this real quick. What is the best video game movie?
Mortal Kombat.
No, that's crazy talk. I would probably say the first Silent Hill, apart from the ending.
Yeah. That's the only two for me. Like after that, it gets kind of like you're really kind of just talking about movies.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think you both are right. I think Mortal Kombat's the most entertaining movie. I mean, the acting and the writing's not great, but it's just dumb fun.
Man, I mean, Christopher Lambert makes no bad movies.
Unless you're willing to accept like anime adaptations of video games, then the pool of available movies becomes much bigger.
Right. But honestly, I think as far as getting the atmosphere right, I'm with Jens. I think Silent Hill was the best. The ending was weird. I will 100% agree. But
they changed the nature of the cult completely. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that's what happens when I don't think the developers were really in it. But again, the atmosphere of that whole movie was great. There were some changes that were like, no, that's not the Silent Hill I remember, but that was good. But yeah, I think those are probably the top two, Mortal Kombat and Silent Hill.
I think we're all forgetting about a little movie called Double Dragon.
I don't mind Double Dragon, actually. It's fine. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not, I wouldn't put it in it's okay. No. So, we could always just, talk about...
If you're asking me what's the best video game adaptation, I would say Steins Gate.
Anime doesn't count. It never counts.
that's just a straight up adaptation. I mean, it's not.
Yep.
Didn't have to do a whole lot there. I mean, it kind of goes off the rails with that sequel or whatever, but.
And the first Pirates of the Caribbean is a pretty good Monkey Island movie.
I agree with that. I love that part.
It's got your LeChuck, it's got your Guybrush, it's got kind of equivalents for everybody.
Yeah, but then Pirates of the Caribbean went around and made a terrible Kingdom Hearts level, so.
2.
I don't know what you're talking about. I loved it on the Kingdom Hearts 3. So, on the second one, yeah, I'll agree.
I still have that thing downloaded on my PS4. I need to finally play that.
Well, you'll be blown away by the graphics.
All right.
I just enjoy hearing the Kingdom Hearts composer team try to mimic the Hans Zimmer pirate scores and not doing it at all properly. I think they're way too classical for what Pirates of the Caribbean sounds like.
Well,
you would notice that.
I mean, he's not wrong, but they can only go so far without ripping them off completely. So, I just never understood why Disney doesn't just let them have the
original music.
That.
I mean, they do for some of the products, right?
Yeah.
Like for Frozen, they just straight up do the songs.
Yeah.
It's probably like some license agreement that Zimmer signed, or that.
They don't want to have to pay Zimmer more money.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, if it's another medium or like a different artistic work, that they got to pony up some more cash.
So I realize nobody but me cares about it. It just always amused. That my favorite thing about that whole segment was hearing Pirates of the Caribbean filtered through the Kingdom Hearts music team.
So, last news thing we're going to talk about here is this EVO 2020 being canceled because some just awful stuff. I mean, last year's EVO went through the same thing, sort of like just all of a sudden all this sexual harassment and bad stuff just started coming out right about. It
just seems to be the bane of conventions. When you're putting on these conventions where people mingle, people who are underage and people who are like in their 20s and 30s mingle, this stuff seems to happen a lot.
It's
of course here it's the founders involved.
Right, I mean, it doesn't need to be happening, but
I'm not saying it's inevitable.
I mean,
saying it's all too common.
Yeah, there's a far cry between it being like one or two moderators or one or two, guests and the co-founder of the damn thing.
Yeah, and the fact that
we had the same thing in Atlanta with DragonCon, because the DragonCon founder turned out to be a pedo.
So, just in case you don't are not like a Twitter person and don't like follow gaming stuff on social media, what Jens and Marc were alluding to is Joey Queller, who's the president of EVO, has faced allegations from various people in the fighting game community. He also goes by Mr. Wizard, in case you go find this later. That he paid out tokens to local members of an arcade who were at the time under the age of 18 to jump into a pool of water in their underwear. And then it goes on to, there was further sexual misconduct. There was, I think, even showing genitalia and all this other stuff. Then, of course, this kind of goes along with the felt like in the past 2 weeks we've had game journalists, game developers, people that work at game companies. This is something I forgot to bring up when we were talking about why games cost more. Is we know that money is not going to go to the people that are actually making these games. Most of that money is going to go to these publishers' pockets and continue to line the Bobby Kotick's of the world's pockets instead. But
hey, he deserves the most money,
right? But yeah, this is, and it's like terrible news because it made you think different things about people like Chris Avellone.
Yes, that's a sad thing to me because he's worked on some of my favorite games over the years.
Yep.
Right. And Ubisoft went through a shakeup because the creative director for Assassin's Creed Valhalla is now having to take a leave of absence and step down from his role because he was engaged in extramarital affairs and not great. And also two vice presidents of Ubisoft have also been placed on administrative leave along with other employees because of misconduct allegations. So, just not... I mean, it's good that all this stuff is coming out. It's terrible that all this stuff happened, especially as a person myself that is friends with some of the game journalists and also just reads a lot of their stuff, like seeing a lot of what a lot of these female game journalists went through, especially at IGN with like the founders of IGN. Apparently, two of them were just absolutely terrible people. That it's a site that I grew up on, that I still read a lot today, and I mean, thankfully it's not like that anymore. But it's crazy to like. I think that's what I got out of a lot of what was happening was you really don't know the people you think you know. You don't always really know them, I guess, right? Like, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And it's good for these people to finally get that stuff out, but I hate that they had to go through that. It's disgusting. I don't know, any thoughts from you guys on this stuff?
I'll just say that I agree with Jens about, like, Chris Avlin's like the one that didn't strike me the hardest, but I like that guy, or like some of his games.
Yeah, I mean, and he's doing some big games right now, right? That now those games are kind of in jeopardy.
Well, I think they said that, like, Vampire, he didn't work on it too much, or I think Dying Light 2, he quickly got booted off as well.
Yeah. I mean, some of our very favorites, right? We've got Planescape Torment, which we love. I know you all like Fallout New Vegas a lot. Alpha Protocol, I thought was super underrated. Fallout 2, I mentioned earlier. I love Fallout 2. KOTOR 2. So yeah, he's really...
And Divinity, or Prey, Divinity Original Sin 2.
I mean, Obsidian, right? I mean, it's one of the greatest game studios. So to think that this is all going on at Obsidian is very disheartening, and casts a pallor over all those great titles.
Yeah, because this is apparently going on for quite a long time. You know, it's... Yeah, and...
I don't think we mentioned that EVO Online is getting cancelled over this, which is a sad... The way that EVO Online seemed to be coming together was a real feel-good story for me. And I was, looking forward to following it and all that. And to see it fall apart because of this is really sad for a lot of people. Not that it doesn't, obviously, that's not nearly as bad as the accusations themselves. I'm not trying to equivocate anything. I'm just saying, it's kind of tragic for the fighting game community that to have this event fall apart over this. This is why we can't have nice things. Why can't these people in power just behave themselves? It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's weird
disgusting.
too. I wonder if it's like some kind of complex as well of like you were beat up or you were made fun of as a kid, and so all of a sudden now you have power. You wind up doing the same thing. And
yeah, probably.
That sounds like what's the teacher in Persona 5?
Kawakami?
No, that's not the nice lady teacher. Kamoshida, thank you. Yeah. Kamoshida's whole justification for why he thinks he's justified in doing what he does is it's just this, which is, they kind of took over my life, made me cram and ruin my life to be in this position to achieve, and now I'm going to leverage this, and I feel I have a right to, because of what I went through, which, as far as like motivation for a fictional villain is nice, but as a real life excuse for anything, it is absolutely revolting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It should never have to come up, and I don't know.
I mean, there is no excuse. There is nothing you can say to just like, I don't care if you were abused as a child, whatever the fuck happened to you as you were growing up. I do not care. It does not justify those kinds of actions.
Yeah, doing it to people that you encounter is it's absolutely wrong. I just hope that at some point here, I hope that not only does this encourage more people to feel like they can come out and talk about this, but also that finally we can kind of get some of this out of the gaming community. I think you're still going to have your shitty people and your, misogynists and people that don't want to get over the whole, girls can play games just as well and all that stuff. I mean, now we're seeing stuff happen in the military. We're seeing it happen in other places now.
Wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling. It felt like that was ongoing all at the same time with wrestling. It's like, so just hope that there is a learning, something happens here that takes on people's minds that changes into the generation. Just like while we're having these protests, let's make this into a positive for future generations, please. Let's please not be committing the same mistakes with our kids as well. I just hope not. So let's move on here to talking about games we've been playing. Go ahead, please.
I was going to say, speaking of Persona 5 for a second, Jens and I already pre-ordered, but they announced that anime release, the dub.
$300.
I mean, if you need the dub, awesome. I watched it.
Well, I mean, importing the Japanese releases without the dub would be just as expensive.
Yeah.
The reason these prices are set the way they are is really to discourage reverse importing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, don't like anime really. I mean, why is it $300?
Because it's worth that.
I mean,
some Dragon Ball or
release,
you're paying like $12 per episode, Mark.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. I mean, I've to be fair, I've done worse.
Yeah, isn't that like Galactic Heroes or whatever?
Legends of Galactic Heroes is $700.
That's a freaking old school show. I mean,
it's true. It's about it comes to about the same.
Ever, so.
It is one of the greatest animes ever, unlike the Persona 5 anime, which isn't even good. But we're Persona 5 completionists, I guess.
Oh, you are. I'm more moderate, but that's the one thing I really do want to watch and own.
To be fair, that's the way I know the Persona 5 stories to the anime. So
I was pirating it while it was coming out. It was not a good show.
I mean, now you guys are showing why there needs to be streaming, because I pay my $7 for Crunchyroll. I got to watch the whole thing. I didn't have to pay $300 for a Blu-ray. So.
Yeah, but it's Aniplex. Aniplex is never going to be on those services.
Yeah. They are on the services, though.
Are they?
Not that shit. Well, the sub of Persona 5 is on Crunchyroll, but not the dub. That's the
thing. I'm saying, though. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But you don't. Do you really need the dub? I didn't even play. I played the game in Japanese because I like the Japanese voices. I don't think the Japanese voices can be topped.
I like the English ones, so.
Anyway.
Right. Well, Jens, you have just so we can go ahead
wrap up Persona 5.
So we can knock it out. Jens, you have finally been able to play your Persona 5, the Royal.
It is largely the same game.
Yeah.
It is like 80%, 90% the same game.
That's what I said. I mean.
Yep.
I said more, probably.
I was somewhat underwhelmed by the new content. Like there's in fact it annoyed me at times because to anyone who's finished Persona 5, and I'll talk about this in a non-spoilery way, at the end of Persona 5 there is a segment where you kind of have to go to all of your companions and give each of them an identical pep talk, and it's basically just having the same conversation with each team member, like 6 or 7 times, and the new DLC does that multiple times. Where it's like, okay, talk to each person individually, and you basically have the exact same conversation with each one several times in a row, and I was getting really tired of it. It's like, yep, no, I get it. And the big bad is, I'm not a big fan of the big bad. He's without spoiling who or what he is, let's just say that his motivation and the world that he's trying to create is very cliche for anime. It is very tropey. It's something that you've seen in a lot of other things, and it was still fine. And overall, the big improvements to me are that the game actually gives you enough time to do everything, which is great. I was able to do everything in one playthrough. I was able to get all the trophies in one playthrough, and it was great to replay that game. I thankfully had not burned out on it the way that Mark had, so. I kind of just experienced the whole thing again in full. Sorry, Mark?
How long did it take you to beat?
100 hours. Or just under 100 hours.
Mine was like 60.
Okay. Well, you skipped a whole bunch of stuff because you were already super familiar. So
yeah.
I did not skip anything. I listened to all the voice acting. I watched all the cutscenes. I did all the content, but it was still shorter than, people were talking about how, like, this is going to take you.
I saw that too, like 120 hours or 150.
Yeah, people were talking like 120 hours, 130 hours. It's like, it was not anywhere that. So yeah, and the, the final 2 months that you do, they really are not that long.
Yeah, because you have like 60 days, but like 30 of them are taken up by investigations or crap like that, and it's like.
And again, just talking to your team members.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like talking. One day it's talk to Makoto, and the next day talk to Haru, and it's like, all right, I guess.
Yeah, and it wraps things up very, very neatly. So I will give it that. And there were a couple. I will say this: there were a couple of twists that were really, really good. There were a certain character revelations that I thought were quite strong that hit me, and you think back on everything that was setting it up over the course of the whole game with the two new characters that introduced, and you think like, oh yeah, this was well thought out and well structured, and they foreshadowed it just a little without giving it away. So I appreciated that. Well, it was good, but yeah, but as far as compared to something like Persona 4, the Golden, or even Catherine Full Body, I don't think it really added enough to be. We decided before we recorded that we were not going to consider it for Best of the Year.
Well, you guys did.
Well, I know you don't agree, but I just really, I don't think that there's quite enough here to really consider it a new game.
Yeah, another game that I'll just talk about Xenoblade really quick because I finally beat the actual original game, and then I'm pretty far into the Future Connected thing. There's not enough content in that either that I'm going to be considering that for Game of the Year either. It's just, I mean, it's nice. Like, it's like, I think it's cool to like get more of Melia's story and finally get to see her like become the, person that you wanted, that, she was meant to be. In this, the way that Xenoblade ends, which I'm trying not to spoil that for people that are playing through the game. I think it was, if I'm backtracking through the times that I left the system on, because I'm also playing it while I'm working, probably 95 hours playing Xenoblade with most of the side quests, because you cannot mainline that game. That is not a mainlineable game. You have to do those side quests.
Yeah, you will not be strong enough.
Or you will be grinding like nobody's business and it'll bore the hell out of you. Not that the side quests are very imaginative. They're all the Japanese RPG trope 101. If you thought 7 Remake was tropey, Xenoblade Chronicles is the tropey of the tropiest. It's what powers that game is the characters and the story, even though, it's nice going to those places and meeting someone every time that eventually becomes part of your party. It's just the new stuff is cool. Like, you explored the Bionis Shoulder, which you didn't get to in the first one. But then you're also exploring Alchemoth, which you did. So, there's a little bit of back and track. And then the main quest outside of that is finding a bunch of Nopon that are scattered around, the two landmasses. And if you don't like Nopon, I'm sorry, but this DLC is going to throw Nopon at you like you've never been, this is not going to make you like them. You're going to get way too much of it. So some people really don't like that that's a trope that Xenoblade has, is that they love those little guys. I don't mind them. They're funny and they're silly, but a lot of people just can't stand them, and that's fine. A lot of people find them annoying. But yeah, I just don't think it's enough there to really say that it's worth saying, oh, this is one of the best games of 2020. But we'll get to that in a little bit, because there's a pretty big game here that I don't know how much more Mark has played of it, but Randy has finished it, and poor Randy's had to be quiet for a while.
You're talking about Mr. Driller in Drillland, right?
Right, yeah, no, The Last of Us Part 2. Jens has been playing it as well, so I guess
pretty deep.
No spoilers, or I guess you could talk about the story, just don't.
We need to keep this vague.
Yeah,
for sure.
Hey man, there are zombies. That's the end of spoilers.
I will say this: I was very happy to learn that the thing that I thought was an end-game spoiler that I was so angry about turned out to basically be the inciting incident. So it thankfully it hasn't been spoiled for me nearly as much as I thought it had, and that is good. So I don't want to do that to anybody else either.
Okay, so like before you guys talk about like I guess what makes the game great or whatever. So now that Randy's finished it and you've played
17 hours.
Right, like
we're about halfway through each, I think. I mean, he's further than I am, but I'm at least at the halfway point.
Okay, so like
we're past the halfway point.
Now that you guys have actually, been, do you feel like the absolute hate that we're seeing is justified?
It's crazy.
Like,
the hate is insane.
It's like I feel this guy is. I feel so bad for these Neil Druckmann,
the voice actors.
Yeah, and
the voice actors. Bailey. Yeah,
like
Laura Bailey.
Actress.
It's like, why are you attacking a voice actor? Like it's just, it's.
Let's talk about this first. So I'm assuming we're all big Laura Bailey fans. She's one of the most prolific voice actresses out there. She's in a million billion things. She's absolutely wonderful in all of them.
If you played a video game, she's done a voice for that game.
Yeah, she's Catherine. I mean, she'll always be Catherine.
She's like the male version, or she's a female version of like
Nolan North and Troy Baker.
Nolan North or Troy Baker, which are, both in, or at least Troy Baker's in Last of Us 2.
So the fact that people cannot separate the character from the actress, especially in this case where this is like an actress that is in basically everything, that we know that, you've heard her and you know how good she is from so many other things. She's not some nobody who's come in to ruin your game. I mean, maybe Neil Druckmann in his story did too good a job to make that character unlikable early on. I mean, they do a really good job of making you, because it's a revenge story, they do a great job of making you hate those people that you're up against. So I can understand why people hate the character.
Yeah.
But how does this... I don't understand people's brains. I don't understand why this extends to we're now going to harass the actress online.
Yeah, I think it's also the orientation choice of that character, right?
She's a straight woman.
Yeah,
okay. She's buff. People don't like that Abby is buff. Like you see all these memes where they talk about, social justice warriors want realistic body types, except in this case. And Abby is like the most normal looking person she's based on the regular person as well. People are like, well, she could never be that buff. She's got to be abusing, steroid abuse would not exist in the post-apocalypse. It's like, what are you people smoking? Like, there are muscular women. It's a thing that exists. And she's a soldier.
She looks a lot like Brie Larson from
like if Brie Larson got really
I actually
buff.
think that might be some of the hatred is,
Yeah, it's the same people who went after Brie Larson. Yeah, these
stupid men's rights activists who didn't like Brie Larson or, didn't like a female-led Marvel movie. It's like they just transferred their hate to poor Laura Bailey, who's one of the nicest people around on Twitter and,
Yeah, no, it's because it's, that character, it's a character who does something really terrible at one point, and you're supposed to hate her for at least the first half of the game. So maybe that just worked a little bit too well. But again, are you gonna harass? I'm trying to think of anybody who's played an antagonist in a movie.
The guy who plays Nacho in Better Call Saul, and he's the bad guy in Far Cry 3. His name. But it's like, we're gonna blame that guy. I was like, no.
Well, I'm not crazy about his performance as Nacho, but I would never bother that guy online. I'm not gonna, are you gonna harass Anthony Hopkins for all the people that Hannibal Lecter ate and killed? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make
they're
sense.
Actors. This is when Matt Getz was telling Ron Perlman that Ron Perlman can't criticize him because Ron Perlman played a Nazi on Sons of Anarchy.
And the funny thing is that show, the Fight Club was they had a lot of predominantly white characters, but they weren't racist.
Right.
They were against the Nazis in that show.
Well, and they were very, that show was very, race, they included almost every race,
Yeah, every gang had, there was, the Mexican gang and, the white supremacist gang, but, the Sons as a gang were maybe not all inclusive, but more so than others.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't out there trying to get people because of their race, right? It was more of what they were doing. So it's like they just happen to be that race. But it's
how great though would it be if Ron Perlman wrestled Matt Gaetz?
Yeah, but it's like
I do still want that to happen.
So focusing more on the actual game itself, like
I mean, Randy wet his pants over it. Jens,
I think Randy is largely right. I had it's been a roller coaster of emotion for me.
Isn't that what you want from the game though? Like
it totally is, but it has been also a roller coaster of emotion in how I feel about the writing, where I really loved it for the first 10, 12 hours, and then there's a point where I was like, this is getting very heavy-handed. Things are kind of a little bit too convenient.
I would say the convenience thing is kind of bothering me a little.
Yeah, and it does. It reminds me of Michael Haneke's Funny Games in a way, in the way that it's trying to shame the audience a little bit at that point. But it has now kind of taken another turn for me where it's developing Abby further as a character, and I'm liking it again. And it's getting deeper and more complex again in the storytelling than it was at the midpoint. So it's difficult for me. Randy is the only one who's finished it, and I really won't know how I feel about it until it's over. But I will say that I've loved my time with it for most of it, and then I liked my time with it for a while, and now I'm kind of up there again.
Well, Randy, I mean, can you attest to this roller coaster, and what do you feel about it? Is there
absolutely?
What Ian said?
I'm working on the review as we speak. It's kind of how this is right now. It is impossible to talk about this game, at least the story, because you don't want to say anything, because it does do so many different things that you just don't expect, and I don't want to bring any of it up or the mid twist or how the ending might go or anything. I'm trying not to spoil anything, because I absolutely love this game. I absolutely love this story.
Yeah.
I get what Jens is saying about the middle and being a little heavy-handed. I think they do that for a reason, and I will talk to him about it more once he finishes, and if we ever do a spoiler cast, I'll explain it a bit more. And the ending, I know, is very divisive. People like it, people hate it. I can understand both sides of it, and I'm very curious how Marc and Jens will interpret the ending. But it's so hard not to say anything. Absolutely, I love this game, but my favorite part has been Jens will message me every day or so, and is exactly what he's saying. He is on such a roller coaster of, well, I don't know about this game now. I'm not sure. And then the next day he's like, no, I'm in. I got it. Or I hate this character. And the next day, no, I get it. So it's really fun to see that he's going through the exact same stuff.
I thought it was driving you crazy at one point.
I love it.
I hope I'm not annoying Randy.
Because no joke, Haley did not watch the first 10 hours of this game. She was off playing Fallout or whatever she was doing while I was playing this game. And that next thing you know, she's watching it, and she watched the whole last half of that game, if not a little bit more, and having conversations with her and explaining what she had missed and whatever was really interesting. And it's not as crazy as the fact that people throwing death threats at voice actors. I mean, that's really stupid. But the fact that there's so many people out there going that, oh, Neil Druckmann ruined the first game, or he doesn't understand the characters. Are you kidding? Neil Druckmann and Ashley Johnson, right? Johnson's your last name?
Yeah, Ashley Johnson.
And Troy Baker know Ellie and Joel more than anyone in the history of the world. And they care more about those two and are not going to do anything that they don't agree with. I mean, if anything, go watch the Kind of Funny or spoiler cast with those three once you finish the game and see how much they care about these characters. So just because things happen in the story that you don't agree with, or you're like, there are so many times where I go, Ellie, what are you doing? Ellie, why are you doing that? But
you see, I was entirely on board with almost everything that Ellie was doing for the whole stretch with you, Ellie.
I can't say anything. Or the same with Joel, or the same with Abby, or anybody. There's a lot of times where you're like, I don't know about this, but it's not my story. It's Neil's story. And I think he tells it wonderfully. Just because I don't agree with the character I'm controlling sometimes, I'm along for the ride, And to me, the story they do extremely well, especially for a video game. I told Jens when he was unsure about the game, I go, it's not an Oscar-winning story by any means, but for a video game and how immersed you get into it, it is absolutely fantastic. And on top of it, you put it into gameplay, which I know that was a big issue with a lot of people. They thought the gameplay of the original game was not enjoyable. If you did not enjoy the first one, I think you'll like the second one. I love the gameplay so much more in this.
Mm-hmm.
Just having the more versatility of Ellie and being, I mean, a jump button it's hilarious to think about how much that changes, but just the size of these combat areas that they put in at times are just like you could and they do a good job. Once you finish an encounter, you can go back in the main menu and replay just that encounter if you want, because there are some that I bet there's hundreds of ways to get through it. And I mean, you can go through it without being seen by a single person or touching another person. You can go through and just murder everybody if you want.
That's what I do.
I do too. The inclusion of dogs in this game makes the combat sometimes, like every time I see a dog on an encounter, I lose my mind because it just changes my strategy of I want to sneak around and take everyone out. You can't when a dog is around. Because
I was so frustrated by that when they first introduced dogs. I was just like,
because the dog is always
dogs.
Dog is always right next to somebody, so now you can't sneak kill this person, and the dog will catch your scent, which they've shown in trailers. It's not a spoiler, and will start hunting you down. So it's like you have to take these dogs out first, and it's just the little subtleties they do, and the differences between the WLM group, which is kind of a militia group, and then the religious group, which are called Scars by some people in the game. The differences between those two groups and their combat is intense. On top of, obviously, the infected are different. And now they do what they do with the DLC, where you have battles between the two. There's infected and WLM people at times, and there's different strategies involved there. It's just, I think gameplay-wise, it is so much superior to the first game. Take it or leave it with the story. I get people aren't going to get it or aren't going to enjoy it, but I think 80% of the hate you see online are from people that haven't played the game. And I think it's really disappointing that it got spoiled, because I think obviously big things in the story got spoiled and everyone just went up in arms with it without knowing the context around it.
The big event that happens like a quarter of the way through got spoiled, but the rest of those spoilers were made up or are false.
Yeah, and then people are. Actually, I've been meaning to message you, Mark, about what the other spoilers were, because you were going to tell me, and I'm like, nope, let me finish the game just in case.
Yeah.
I forget to do it, but the hate on the internet is just so crazy. It's so funny where, I think that's the way the world is right now. We're so uptight and stuck with being stuck at home.
Everything has to be turned into a culture war issue.
Yeah, so right now, I don't want to get into COVID or anything, but right now, where I live at the border of Washington and Idaho. Washington has went full on masks, and Idaho has not. And
you're gonna join the wolves, aren't you?
But it's like any time that any like newspaper on Facebook or different news thing on Facebook puts an article on it, I guarantee you there's going to be 1,000 comments instantly of just bickering. I hate masks or you need to wear masks. And it's the exact same thing anytime you see an article at all about Naughty Dog or The Last of Us 2. It's going to be 20,000 comments instantly of this game is garbage or this game is game of the year. And there's no discussion about it like is what they wanted. So I'm really sad for them that different things got spoiled or leaked or, as Mark is saying, fake leaked and has brought such diversity over nothing.
Yeah.
Because I think this game is so important as far as you're not going to always be happy with the story, and it's not always going to put a smile on your face, but there are some heartwarming moments in this game that are just like, no joke, I probably cried during this game, or I had a tear roll down my face 4 or 5 times. 2 of them were happy ones.
I had a couple of those cases.
And again, I'm having so much fun with Jens just discussing back and forth that where he is in the game and and how he is interpreting things. I think that's what this game was supposed to be, is somebody's story, and there's hundreds of different ways to interpret it.
I mean, I think the message of the story is pretty clear, and you realize, like, I think some of my frustration, the message of the story is revenge begets revenge, but also revenge is hella satisfying, but maybe it shouldn't be. The combat is so good. One thing I love about the fact that, so you're fighting humans way more than in the first game.
Yes.
In fact, you're fighting humans way more than you're fighting infected, which is great because I don't like zombies anymore in media. I don't like zombie games anymore. I'm sick and tired of it. And it just being a revenge story for most of it, where you get to murder these terrible people, it just feels so good.
And I love the fact that they made that choice, because you got to think this is 4 or 5 years after the original game.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, especially in a big city like Seattle, these groups are going to take out the infected.
Yeah.
And it's going to narrow down. So you only really see the infected when you get put into tight situations, a hotel that no one's been into forever, a subway station, so, like places that are just no one ever goes there. So the infected just kind of hang out. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it conveys that awesome feeling of something like, First Blood. Or Apocalypto has a similar kind of big chunk of that movie where it's one guy against many, but he's, got the advantage. He's setting traps. He's, stealthing around them to take them out one by one. And that is something that, God, this game just does it so well. So well. So, Mark, you were about to say something.
No, I was going to say, it's like the first game, primarily you were fighting zombies or like the infected. Mm-hmm. Like the first, quarter of the game is all humans, but after that, once you really get out on your own, it's mostly infected. There's one or two instances where you fight against people, but not that many compared to this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more neutral, on the game, I guess, as a whole. I like some of the one thing I really liked was a big open aspect of, I think, Seattle, the first day when you're with...
Yeah, that was very Uncharted Lost Legacy, that first chapter.
When you're with Ellie and Dina. That was cool. I find the story... It's fine. I really appreciate that it's not quite as wonky as the first one with the seasonal crap, which really bugged me with the first game. It's like, hey, we're going to travel halfway across the country. Now it's summer, and you still have the same inventory and supplies and everything. And I was like, wait, what?
Okay, I mean, that's a gameplay conceit. I'm fine with a time skip. The game does all sorts of things with time here, and that's one thing I've been debating with Randy about, how does it hurt or benefit the story, and would it be better if it were structured differently? But I have not figured out.
I had the same debate with you, where,
Well, I know you argued that some of the flashbacks should be at the beginning, but I kind of like them where they are because of how they play emotionally. It's hard to discuss this stuff without spoilers,
right.
So we might. But just to get to, the reason why people are mad about it, or whether this story works, or whether there's even a necessary game, I was one of those people who thought that The Last of Us did not need a sequel. To me, The Last of Us was basically perfect. It had a perfect ending that had just the right level of ambiguity where you don't really know, okay, how much does Ellie really believe Joel? How much is she willingly going along with what he's saying, even though she knows he's lying? And this game kind of seemingly answers that, and then about halfway through kind of shows you, oh, no, actually Ellie knew this, and it completely changes how you think about the characters. And it was the structure of the game really aids the storytelling in certain ways, and in other ways it kind of hurts it. But then if you didn't have that, then other parts of the game wouldn't work. So you can really tell that it's a fine clockwork that they thought about incredibly hard about how they are going to present this and how much the player knows at any given time about the events in question. And it's fascinating just as a storytelling, just as a thing to contemplate in regards to how they're doing the storytelling.
Yep.
But I know, Mark.
Well, yeah.
Sorry. Sean?
No, go ahead.
Mark, you've been pretty mum about it. It just seems like you're just kind of, whenever I ask you about it, you're like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the gameplay has changed that much from the first one, honestly. I think they gave you one new weapon, maybe, but That's kind of about it.
Yeah, but it's the encounter design that's different.
But did it like really need to? I mean, like.
No, I mean that's debatable, I guess. I mean, I got pretty good at the end of the first game of shooting guys in the head with a bow and arrow. I mean, I'm playing the game differently than you guys did. I'm playing with that like cheat mode on, where I can just see everything in the game.
Well, accessibility mode. It's not cheating. It's to make
it kind of is, because like you're talking about the dog situation, and like those fuckers are easy with that mode on. I can just pop them off it like instantly with the bow and arrow. Like they're not an issue at all.
The dog thing is so.
Honestly, I just to bring up the accessibility mode, that's something that we haven't touched on yet with this game that I just want to hit on quick. All of the different options that you can do in this is for people that are colorblind or people that have this issue or like all of the different things that you can change with the subtitles and the colors and the sounds and everything. It's like they thought of everything about this game, and I hope other games do that, because I like that Mark can play it this way and Jens can play it that way, or anyone that has disabilities that would usually hinder them from playing a game like this. They've thought of it all, and it's great.
I mean, they even go so far as to completely change the encounters, maybe in ways that would even kind of break them or make them really easy. But for people who, things like enemies don't flank you. I could see that there may be some people for whom the game would be too stressful, but now they can enjoy it.
I'm not that bad at least.
Yeah,
I'm not crippling the enemies that much.
See, but also you're also playing it. For you, that you actually need that mode because you're playing it with Star Trek Voyager in the background.
Yeah, I'm finding it super distracted.
You're like splitting your attention, so if it doesn't highlight all the stuff for you, it'd be difficult to get through. Whereas, for me, this has been I need to be 100% immersed. I need to give this game my full undivided attention. Put on headphones, listen intently to everything around me, because that's the kind of game this is. When I was playing Persona 5, it's the experience. Well, it's really you're reading and listening, when you're not in dungeons, and then as soon as you go into a dungeon, you're like, okay, it's podcast time. It's time to put a podcast or some music or something on and just kind of hang back. And that would be impossible with this. At least for me, it's impossible. So I don't know. And so much of it is the how the mood. That's another thing about I'm sorry, I don't mean to shame you, Mark, for how you're playing it. I guess maybe a little bit, but it's such a big part of the appeal. The game. I mean, sure, the gameplay is really good, and the story, is fascinating to me. But a huge part of it is just being in those environments and the oppressive mood of it the whole time, and feeling like something could jump out at you at any moment.
I guess also one of the things that I didn't like it, at least initially, and I still kind of don't, is how limited you are in the beginning. They don't explain why everyone left the dam in the first game to go to this new area, do they?
Do they need to? Years have passed. It could be all manner of reasons.
Well, I mean,
it seems like they're growing livestock. They've got livestock. They've got farms.
I would have liked to spend more time in that first area, I guess. It's the world where Abby starts off. The second time. That was a much more fascinating.
You want to spend more time in Jackson?
Yeah.
I know. You talked about how you thought that the beginning was very abrupt and too short. And I kind of like that it throws you into the shit early on, and I like the way they are introducing a lot of characters kind of in media res with the relationships already there. I enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, I just fundamentally, I think, aside from the visual bump up, if you take a screenshot of Last of Us 1 and compare it to Last of Us 2, people would be hard-pressed to tell the difference.
That's a big visual bump.
I mean, aside from, you playing as Ellie and, not Joel, except for that DLC in the first game. I do think it's funny that you can listen to the collectibles. That's not an accessibility option. That's, one of the gameplay options. I was wait, what? Listening to enemies is fine, but how can you listen to collectibles?
Is it so... I may have missed this. So collectibles get revealed when you press this mode? I've not seen that happen. It's
R1 and square. I think R1 and circle is enemies, and R1 and square is collectibles.
Oh my god!
If you have the accessibility on, it does that.
So it is an accessibility thing, because I have not. You mentioned this to me, Mark, and I was like, "What the hell is Mark talking about?"
Oh, I remember like reading. I think I read a guide, and they said like those are the two that like to turn on. Like the visual thing is like a lot more distracting, or But like, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to come out of this game with many achievements, let me tell you, or trophies, that is, because just like Last of Us, this game is stingy as hell, and there's no way I'm getting all the collectibles.
You see her play it like 3 or 4 times like Randy's going to.
Oh my god. This is like, I had this conversation with some other friends who were like, I'm enjoying it, but I know I'm never going to play this game a second time. And I think I'm kind of in the same boat, because it's like, I'm not going back to the Anne Frank house a second time either.
It could use a multiplayer mode.
All right, let's go.
Hey, the first game had it.
All right. Well, there these three here have talked a lot. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the last thing, I got the game earlier than Jens did. I don't think as early as Randy did.
No, we both got it on launch day, except that I was still playing Persona 5.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I started it a week after you because I was like, I can't start this until I finish Persona 5.
I played different games at this, I switched between games. You're further ahead than I am at the moment because my PS4 is about to explode with this game inside of it. Like, it is scary loud. And
yeah, your PS4 overheated while we were chatting.
Yeah, we were voice chatting last night, and I hit the game accidentally, to start, and my PS4 legitimately said, like, your PS4 has overheated, like shutting off, and it wouldn't turn on for five minutes. And it's like, that's the first time that's ever happened, and that's not a good sign.
You just gotta live with it a little bit longer, then you can play it on your PS5.
And the funny thing is I remember Last of Us 1 on my PS3, it kind of had similar issues.
Well, on the FAT, I'm assuming. The FAT had this problem. So yeah, this is the thing with the early PlayStations and those incredibly demanding Naughty Dog games.
Yep.
Same thing with Uncharted too.
They come out so late in the generation that they kill your system.
Well, that's why I'm not hardcore playing it because I'm afraid of it, bursting into flames.
Gotcha. But it's also, I will tell you, it is exhausting. I've been playing this game, in these huge sessions. Yeah, I'm playing like 5-6 hours at a time, which is arguably way too much at a time for that game. But it's because I want to finish it before the true game of the year comes out. So, I've got a vamoose.
What, Ghost of Tsushima?
On the 10th, we get Deadly Premonition 2.
Oh, okay. Or Paper Mario. Okay, no, so you're waiting for it.
No, gotta finish it.
That's fine. Okay. Did we talk about everything that you wanted to talk about?
Good. Unless, Randy, do you have anything else? You've been quiet for the last 5 minutes.
Because there's nothing else I can say without spoiling stuff. So
okay. Well, you and I will talk about this again.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we can definitely entertain the idea of doing a spoiler cast if you guys want to do it, like we did for Final Fantasy. So
we'll see what happens.
So how is that? Just because you didn't get to talk about this, Mark, how's that Hardspace Shipbreaker?
It's really good. It came out on Steam last week. You play like a salvage guy, and you basically laser cut apart ships and deposit their materials into 3 little gravity funnels. It's a ton of fun. I'm having a blast. It's an early access. The one thing it has, which is really nice, is basically infinite ship design, or it's always modular, so you never run out of ships to blow up, which is something House Flipper really desperately needed. It's an early access right now, but I can't wait until mod support comes out for that game, where they, bust apart the Enterprise D, or the Serenity from Firefly, or something like that. I mean, half these ships already look like the Serenity, so it's kind of funny that way.
Hey, well, I'm glad you're enjoying that game.
Yeah.
I knew you were excited for it, so.
Yep.
That's always good when the hype meets what you want. So, speaking of, we hyped it earlier. Let's go ahead. It's coming an hour and a half into the show, right? So we did pretty good on time. Our best games of the year so far in 2020. This is anything that came out January 1st, 2020 till June 30th of 2020. And then, of course, we'll do our end of the year, which will include everything. The caveats here are that we already talked about it, but anything that's a port, definitive edition, remaster, or, nothing that's actually, like, new will not count.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Game of the Year.
Yeah, so Tokyo Mirage Sessions will not be included, even though it is a really good game that thankfully is now on Switch. If it ever does go to that $40 price range, so maybe Black Friday, might think about it. But, yeah, so we mentioned Persona 5, the Royal will not be included in the discussion. Xenoblade Definitive Edition won't be included, even though that's a game, like I said, I spent 100 hours in. Tokyo Mirage, and there's probably others that I can't think of at this minute.
Catherine.
How about
Catherine
Kentucky Route Zero
year.
TV edition? Is that also disqualified?
That one's rough because, like, technically, you just completed the game and you're getting an Act 5, and you get to play the whole game. It's an episodic game. That's one of those that's like, normally what I do with the episodic games is whenever they're done is when we count them. So now it's officially done. So yes, that would count.
Okay.
Well,
because
so
I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to play it this year.
I just can't remember. Did we have it on the list last year?
No, Kentucky Route Zero didn't have a...
I mean, I wouldn't count that game because that game's been coming out for like the past 3 years.
Well, technically the first
that rule, Mark, would never
episode
be
of that
eligible.
game came out in 2013.
So I guess that's the other. That's the next way. Has it been on any of our lists before? If it's been that long?
No, because
Who has played it?
I've
played it yet,
dabbled.
but I will play it. So I'm wondering if it'll be in consideration for the end of the year.
Yeah,
You know what? For the last episode.
Like I said, we count the episode, like the game is counted when, cause that didn't even do like, okay, so here's the thing with Kentucky Route Zero. It's like, it's not even like Life is Strange or Walking Dead or something
It didn't take 1 year to come out. It took 4. Or, it took...
No, it took way more than that. So, that's the thing. It's like, and you didn't even get it didn't get like 2 episodes in 1 year or something like that. You got like 1 episode in like 3 years. So it's such a weird game to...
Yeah, between episode 4 and episode 5 was 4 years.
Yeah, see? So like that's just one of those like weird anomalies. I think you kind of just have to count it because now you officially can play the entire game as one thing. Now.
Okay, noted.
So,
all right, sorry, let's move on.
Okay, so I'm not really going to talk about that as it would probably wind up being intention when I'm talking about the full 10 at the end of the year, but as my 5 because I haven't finished it yet. So, but let's kind of just go through like everybody kind of, everybody does their 5, everybody does their 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever. And then we'll kind of just talk about some games that maybe just missed. So what is like a game that like just missed the cut for you or you kind of have your eye on, will it wind up being in your final, 10 or something like that?
I'm struggling with this because... sorry, Mark.
I would say, I was going to say, I'd probably say Resident Evil 3. Just haven't played it yet, but I know I'll probably really like it because I like Resident Evil 2. And hey, it's more of the same. You could argue that, like, it may not be a 2020 game per se, but whatever.
So going through this thing in that chronological order, Mark, did you wind up putting Journey to the Savage Planet on your...
No, I like it, but Jens' bitter bitching made it annoying.
Yes! I disqualified it.
No, I'll go back to it eventually and kind of mop up some of the collectible stuff and see if I still like... I like to look... Like, the combat in the game is bad, I think. But I really like the locomotion and the different ways, like, your power-ups or your abilities can, like, interact with one another. So, who knows?
And Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Elma.
I just thought I'd mention it because it's...
Fuck that game.
It's been one of the highest selling games this year. And
it tried, but failed.
One that I know that we will be talking about because it has its own little niche, and I think it took so long to come out, right? Like so many of these other games from this year. Dreams.
Have anyone played it?
Yeah. I played a little bit of it.
I played the beta, but that was about it.
The thing is, it's like, it's difficult because I'm not a person that wants to go and make my own level and do all that. Like, I like the story stuff, and I've played other people's levels, and those are fun. I think it's great that this kind of game exists. I think it deserves its critical claim, for what it is.
I mean, sure, but games like that have existed before.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of, I remember like
but
Project
this is probably
Spark.
the best of that game, right? Because it includes everything that all those games have, and gives you so many more tools, I guess, than even like a Mario Maker or something like that. Just because we have to mention it, but none of us are going to talk about it, is Call of Duty Warzone will probably wind up in that like importance discussion, but won't be in there with us talking about it as a game that.
Speaking of importance, have any of us played Half-Life Alyx, or is anybody going to?
That's really difficult, right? Cause...
I mean, the only one of us.
Mark, you've got VR.
Yeah,
you got to play it.
My problem is I don't think my computer can run it.
Okay.
I mean, Sean offered to get it for me when it first came out, but like I barely passed the video card requirements, and I was like unsure about.
It's not a Steam game, right? So you can't do the whole
it is
and then returning it.
Oh, it's a Steam game. That's where it's only on.
Okay. I was just making sure. Well,
it's literally a Valve game.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
I mean, if they somehow made like an Oculus Quest version, I could do that. But I mean, yeah. My problem also with like I don't have a ton of VR space. I mean, Jens has seen my apartment and especially my room. So
yeah, I don't get why you went for VR at all. Like I have more space than you, and I'm like I do not have space for this.
I want to be part of the wave, my friend.
It's so terrible.
Yeah, Black Mesa also got a lot of talk. It's the remake of Half-Life. Yeah. That we'll have to discuss. So, and let's hit on one I know Jens is going to want to talk about, because it's a game you have talked about plenty of times on the podcast, Nioh 2.
Yes. Yeah, if I ever finish Nioh 2 might make my list, depending on how the rest of the year goes. I mean, it's more Nioh. It's harder. It's more complex. And that's pretty much it. It has kicked my ass to the point where I'm taking a break from it right now. And I know you were, I don't know if I'll ever, I don't know, maybe one day I'll finish it. I had the same thing with the original Nioh, where like I played it for the first 20 hours, and then I was like, took a half a year off it. So who knows? But I did like it, except for the fact that I got seriously stuck. So that's Nioh 2. Might make the list if this is a bad year. Also on my list, Sakura Wars, or New Sakura Wars. Might also, not the greatest game, but if this is a really shitty rest of the year, Sakura Wars might make the list. At the moment it does, just because I haven't played a lot of 2020 games.
You'll disagree, but I would actually say the same thing about like SnowRunner. Like it has issues, but if I had to make a top 10 list right now, I'd be on it.
Well, if I had made my top 5 right now with Persona 5 The Royal disqualified, I actually have Animal Crossing on here, even though I ended up hating Animal Crossing. But it's because I've only played 5 games this year that were from 2020.
That's fair. I mean, Animal Crossing is such a huge game for this year. So many reasons.
There's no way it's going to make the final list. I mean, I don't think the likelihood of Animal Crossing or Sakura Wars being on the final list of the year, with all the stuff that's still coming out, is low.
Well, Animal Crossing will probably most definitely be in our 25.
Right, from other people picking it.
Right. Just because, my God, you can't think of a part of 2020 without Animal Crossing. It's
game of the pandemic.
It's the game of the pandemic, and it's a game that, Anaya's been enjoying it a lot more now. She's gotten to play it again. It's like, I think it's a game that I think it got a lot of people into playing games that don't necessarily play games, and people that just love Animal Crossing, period. So there's that. I don't know, Randy, have you gotten into Animal Crossing?
Oh, no. My poor Switch. The only love it gets is when Chase plays Fortnite.
Oh, so that's who's on. Wait, because it'll tell me Randy is on.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a online thing, so he always plays online.
Randy, do you have any on your right now? Don't know. Didn't make my 5. Might make my 10 or.
I still need to play more of it. But Doom Eternal is close. It's just I haven't got into that mind space because that game is so fast and so much is going on, and I've been playing these games that don't require that. So every time I think about playing that game again, I end up playing something else instead. But I enjoyed it. It's a lot like the first one. I don't know if it will end up in my top 10 by the end because there are, like Ian said, several games I'm very into here in the second half of the year. But I enjoyed what I played. I just wasn't enough to get in my top 5.
Fair enough. One for me that I've enjoyed, but probably just barely doesn't make it in my top 5 right now. Might be in the 10 if the year goes on. Good Job is a game that's just it's fun to go in and destroy your workplace and do the little quests that it has you do in there. I very much enjoyed it, and it's I didn't really know what to think about it when I put the money down on it, and I was very much surpassed my expectations on that one. And that goes along with moving out as well as it's Overcooked but moving stuff. I very much enjoyed Overcooked, so moving out was always going to be in my wheelhouse. I think Overcooked is a much better made game as far as it just feels much more fluid. Moving out really does feel like moving things sometimes. You're so exhausted by the time you get to the truck, you're just throwing crap everywhere. Right? So that's how that game feels too. You're trying to just throw stuff in that truck and then we'll organize it later, and then by the time you get to the point where you're organizing, you run out of time, you're like, oh my god, I gotta figure out a different way to do this. So
I have returned.
Yeah. Go ahead. What?
I said I have returned.
Yeah. And Murder by Numbers is another one that I really enjoyed earlier in the year. It's a visual novel with Picross. If you
that looks like something I should seek out. I was kind of looking through best games of the year so far lists, trying to prep for this, and I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing this. This looks like 100% like a me kind of game.
Yeah, the story is good. I'm not such a huge fan of the Picross, but thankfully there's a cheat system and I can just kind of go through there. Then enjoy the story. It's a nice little game you can I can play a little bit of when I want a break and just kind of go back to. So those are my barely just didn't make it. And also Gears Tactics, because it's Gears with tactics, and I love Halo Wars, so I love Gears, so Gears Tactics was always going to be a game that I liked. I didn't want to not loving it, but it's another one of those games that I'll pop in for a mission and then maybe not play it for another 3 or 4 days and then pop in for a mission again. I don't know.
I want to play that so bad.
It's good. I don't think it's great, but still, enjoyable game. I don't think that it needs to get there's people that why do we ever need to make a Gears Tactics? Hey, they made Tactics games about worse things.
Hey, they made 2 Halo RTSs. Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, if Mario and the Rabbids can have a tactics game,
they actually made that quite that was so much harder than I thought it was going to be.
My God.
This is a Nintendo game. No way. It's holy crap! I'm just dying immediately. What the hell?
That's brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal. So what's everybody's 5? Mark?
My 5 would be SnowRunner. Number 4. Let's see.
Yeah, we talked about SnowRunner a lot, so I don't know that we need to expound upon it.
No, everyone knows it's the best game ever, so you can move on.
What else is on your list that's not last?
Jens hates it, so.
Yeah, I hate it. Well, but it's not that it's a bad game. It's just I knew it was not a game for me. I knew that it was a terrible mistake having Mark talk me into it. And as soon as I started playing it, I was, oh.
You were able to help me out a few times at least, so that was good.
Oh, that was worth my $70 or whatever it was.
No, you paid it was 40. That game wasn't, or maybe 50. But yeah.
No, I think it's 50. Yeah.
I would say number 4. I don't know. Well, I'd say everyone go 5 first, and they can go back to me for 4.
Did XCOM Chimera Squad make your?
No, I really didn't like that game. It was boring. It had low production quality, low production, values. It's yeesh. Let's see what else.
Oh, I also should note that Maneater might be a game to watch.
Oh yeah, so I just bought that. Amazon has it on sale for $25. So I just grabbed it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
RPG where you're a shark. I mean,
it seems rad.
Yeah, like somebody thought of that. It feels like somebody just thought of that and said, "You know what? Let's just make the game," and they did. So, and
finally, my fetish will be fulfilled.
I know Robert Taylor loves that game. So.
I'd say for me, like 4 would probably be Clubhouse Games 51.
Oh, yeah.
3 would be Last of Us. 2 would be Shipbreaker, and 1 would probably be Final Fantasy 7.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if anything else is catching my eye. I mean, the only other thing would be like they put a few games on like the Oculus Quest. That wouldn't count, I don't think. And like Persona 4 Golden is cool on PC. That wouldn't count.
Right. Doesn't count. Yep.
I might say, I mean, it's not out yet. Same as Shipbreaker, but like Risk of Rain 2 is pretty neat.
Didn't that count for last year though? We counted.
Well, it's not officially out yet.
What's the Steam thing?
Early access.
Early access.
Greenlight or whatever.
Oh, it's early access. Greenlight's gone now, or that went away, thankfully. But yeah, that's about it. Like I haven't played like Jens and probably you. I haven't played a ton of games. There have been a ton of new games out this year necessarily.
My 5 is just de facto the 5 games I played that weren't Persona 5 The Royal. So it's Animal Crossing, Sakura Wars, Neo 2, Last of Us Part 2, which unless it completely shits the bed with the ending, is definitely going to be in my top 10. And Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is a no-brainer, also definitely going to be in my top 10.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be the battle at the end. Is going to be Final Fantasy VII Remake and Last of Us.
No. Come on, what about Ghost of Tsushima is probably going to be a big factor.
Yeah.
There's some other major games still coming out.
Yeah,
There's a Halo game coming out.
Maybe Watch Dogs and Direction Ships.
Yeah. Did you see that if you watch the Ubisoft Forward thing, you get Watch Dogs 2 free, so...
We're also forgetting Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's going to be in that discussion.
Well, if you listen to Mark, it's not coming out this year, so...
Yep.
Actually, Watch Dogs 2 just came out on PlayStation Now, too, so I could finally play it.
Yeah.
And hey, everyone knows Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 is going to be a big one this year.
It will be, it won't count.
But
no, that will count.
Forgetting.
That's a fucking new game.
I thought it's a remaster.
No, that's new. Because it's the same. If that doesn't count, then Final Fantasy VII doesn't count.
Which game
depends on what they add.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, that's not like the last time they released it, where it was basically just a remaster. This is like completely rebuilt.
It's a remake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are we forgetting, Randy?
You're forgetting the new Crash Bandicoot game.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Isn't it?
That'll be big.
It's about time.
Is it due out this year or no?
Yes, it comes out in October 9th.
Okay.
Well, if it doesn't get delayed, but yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, there are later games I'm excited for, like Axiom Verge 2, or.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need to go into upcoming games. I just wanted to make the point that I don't think it's going to come down to Final Fantasy versus Last of Us. I think
it'll still be in the conversation.
Sure, but I don't think those two will be like the two top ones. Going head to head.
I lied. I forgot the game of the year that hasn't come out yet. There's a Fast and the Furious Crossroads. Guys, cannot forget about that game.
I thought that game got delayed.
It did, but any game with Vin Diesel is going to be automatic winner.
Oh, you know it. All right.
That Riddick game was surprisingly not terrible.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The first one.
The first Riddick game, Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh, Riddick's great.
Yeah.
Dark Athena isn't terrible. It was just not nearly as good as the first one. Right. But they're packaged together, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's like you can almost treat it like a bonus.
Yeah. Well, Randy, what are your...
number 5 for me is a game I still want to play a bunch more. I beat it, but I want to do it more. Streets of Rage 4 is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It has that great mix of old school feel, beat 'em up, but with just the new graphics and stuff. It was way too much fun to play. For me, number 4 is Resident Evil 3 Remake. I'm excited to see what Mark thinks of it when he plays it. But to me, the 3 that I know are going to make my top 10 at least, if not my top 5, by far and away my 3 favorite games so far. And all 3 might have been my game of the year if they were out last year. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is my number 3. It's so good. It's adding the different combat stuff to that game and it's so beautiful. It's just so good. Of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake would not throw too much of an argument if it ends up being our number one right now. But to me, obviously, number one is The Last of Us Part 2. I had ridiculous high expectations for that game, and I think it exceeded almost all of them. And it's like we've talked enough about it, but yeah, I think those three are by far and away my favorite games so far this year.
Yeah, other than Lost, I'm gonna have two of Randy's. Final Fantasies on all of ours, but number 5 for me is a game I've talked about a little bit. Is One Piece Power Wars 4. It's just One Piece is wonderfully made for Musu, and for just has the story up to date. It's so good to play. It feels so good to just be those characters and kick ass, and you can do other things while you're playing, and I have fun doing that. So yeah. Number 4 is a game called Lair of the Clockwork God, which it's something that like I picked up a while ago and then finally started playing it, and just been enjoying it. Is just it's a game where you're two different characters, and they have other games. They have like 2 point and click games that are kind of like in that old like LucasArts like 90s style, that are really cheap on Steam if you're a point and click dude. The Ben and Dan games. So one character is a point and click guy, and then the other character is you're playing a platformer, and you switch between the two at various points, and you have to figure out how to get through these levels playing as those characters with those games like gimmicks. And it's like actually like really cool to like play kind of both of those games at the same time, and they're two like my favorite genres. So just getting to do that and switch back and forth, and having to figure out how to do that as a platformer, then having to figure out how to do it as a point and click is just it's cool. It's very innovative. I like that, and a lot of credit for them to just kind of put that on its head, not just make another point and click game, but to meld another genre in there and make it work. So definitely a game. I think it's on Steam. I think it's like I got it on a sale for like 12 or something like that. So I definitely think if you like those two genres, you should check it out. Number 3 is Streets of Rage 4. Like Randy said, I just absolutely love that game. It's just so well done as far as beat 'em up goes. Love the 2 new characters as well that they added, Floyd and Cherry. And then the way you get to unlock some of the older, some of the older characters later. But it's just like, it's absolutely loving ode to those old games, and they did it just wonderful justice. Or in the Blind Forest, Randy said everything I'm gonna say. It's absolutely great. If you haven't played it yet, it's well worth getting Game Pass for. If you haven't gotten the 3 months for $1, do that. It's one of those games you need to go play. It is absolutely beautiful, and it's great. It's a little bit better on PC than Xbox, if your PC can run it. So, would suggest that. Final Fantasy VII Remake, as we talked about it, we did a spoiler cast about it. I don't think we need to say any more, but that's my number 1 game of the year so far. Yeah.
You think there'll be some backlash against that game?
What, remake?
No, yeah, Final Fantasy VII.
I think there is already. I mean, you already got the people that can't stand that it's not the full game in one disc, or one that you're having to wait to get episodes of that game.
Or don't like what the ending sets up.
Yeah. Or they're gonna, as soon as we find out what they're doing with part 2, you're gonna start seeing the backlash. I think is what's gonna happen. Because they've already talked about how they're in development remotely right now. And as soon as they reveal how much of the story is getting changed, or what's getting changed, or whatever, then you'll start seeing the people go back and hate on 1, I think, a lot more. If it goes in the direction that they don't want it to go to. I think you're still getting people hating on it for the side quests, and I saw a lot of people saying, I could have just watched this game on YouTube. It's very button mashy, it never gets hard.
Final Fantasy?
Yeah, that remake doesn't get hard.
I mean, there were some really tough
There's some
late boss fights.
If you're not like actually paying attention or like guarding correctly or like setting up your characters, you can get screwed pretty hard. And
or if you don't have the right spells on you, like with the Monster House.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I don't know. Maybe I just suck at games. I guess the regular, normal enemies, you really just kind of hold down
those are pushovers,
the button, and it does it for you.
Yeah, but that's most RPGs. The normal enemies are not meant for you to die on unless you're playing Dragon Quest. So, like, they're...
Or Shin Megami.
Or Shin Megami. Like, they're meant for you to feel powerful and get powerful, so when you fight the big boss, that's when, you're gonna run into some problems. So...
I guess it's funny. I mean, I had to check off 5 minutes till my modem died.
Yeah.
So did anyone bring up Doom Eternal?
Randy's the one that's played it. He did bring it up.
Okay, I was just curious. That's like the one big game that came out that I didn't play. I don't know. I didn't know Randy played it, but I know you two guys didn't play it either.
Yeah,
no interest. Didn't like the previous one.
Yeah.
I like, FPSs, so Navy, but yeah, I don't know. It's not a game, it's not something I'm rushing out the door to. Maybe when, they do those, like, sales at the end of the year when stuff gets real cheap, and we're trying to cram things in for Game of the Year at the end, yeah. That'll be the time when I finally check it out or something. But alright, I think now you have all of our top 5 lists for Game of the Year so far. We'll see what the rest of the year has coming up, and, Ghost of Tsushima, Paper Mario, Origami King are already coming up pretty quick in the next...
Deadly Premonition.
And Deadly Premonition as well. Deadly Premonition 2. So, yeah. There you go. 3 games you should go check out already that are within like a week and a half coming out. So, there's that. If you enjoy what you heard, you can always hit subscribe. And you'll get anytime we do a show. And, of course, if you like this more than that, you can hit the review on any podcast platform that you listen to us on. And we're pretty much on all of them. So, leave that review wherever you'd like. You can also review us over there on Podchaser as well. I want to thank Randy and Jens, and as always, Mark, for being on here. And, well, until next time, we'll see you later, everybody.